Waseem, Younus, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Salam alaikum. It's a pleasure being here.
Walaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So happy to have both of you. Waseem, I'm going to start with you and ask you, why were you inspired to start Salam Project?
When you look at what was happening all around the world, especially in places of worship, and we really don't have to look far. You know, our brothers and sisters in Quebec, our brother and sister in New Zealand, and places and
in Canada
times.
as well, in Toronto as well.
Absolutely. So you really, you know, us as law enforcement professionals, we had the knowledge and we had the training. I felt that it was our responsibility to connect with places of worship, with, you know, our non-for-profit organizations and our schools to help everyone start thinking about safety and security in a different way.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned law enforcement professionals. I know you are one, but do you have other individuals with you who are also law enforcement professionals as well?
Yes, alhamdulillah, we're very blessed to have a very diversified team of law enforcement professional active officers and retired officers, and we have security professionals. We have educators, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have different subject matter expertise because you need all the key stakeholders to come to the table when we want to make drastic changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Younus, I'm going to turn to you and ask you, what security measures do you think that mosques should institute?
I think it's important that we sort of establish a baseline. Our program is about 3 steps, and it begins with sort of a public presentation, and then it continues on with a physical risk assessment. So it's called, in emergency management, it's called a hazard identification and risk assessment. We try to pinpoint all of the sort of the challenge points of the building in terms of security. The last one is we actually train the mosque to have a team of security volunteers, and we call it the Salam security marshal system. And that's sort of how we establish a baseline for each mosque to become reasonably secure.
Mm-hmm.
And alhamdulillah, not only just mosques, because we are very, very happy and pleased that when the Salam Project started, we have over 105 presentations that we have done from faith-based communities all across, and not just our own. We also have places of worship. We have, this program has been implemented in the city of Brampton. So it has grown a lot, and we are more than happy to assist our schools, our community centers, our charities, anyone that can make use of this free service that we are providing.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know, when I hear the sort of training you're offering to mosques, I'm thinking mosques might respond and say, well, we don't have the resources or the money to be able to put forward this sort of program that you're suggesting. How would either of you respond to that?
You know, I think you really have to think outside the box and to implement the most simplest security procedures and safety protocols. You don't require a lot of money. And that is one key aspect of our program, is we look at your own resources that you have access to, because oftentimes, and Younus would agree with me, that our communities are filled with talented individuals. Why not tap into their potential to see how can you enhance the program? Because you cannot buy value, and the value that the Salon Project brings is from the individual strengths of the community members and looking at simple, cost-effective measures to enhance your current existing softwares and protocols that you have.
So Younus, what are those simple, cost-effective measures that Waseem is suggesting? So,
you know, what we do is we try to focus on providing the community like the best value measures that they can realistically implement. A lot of the time that has to do with just awareness and training, because so much of security building is just being aware of, you know, what suspicious activity is, right? Or understanding the kind of concept of, oh yeah, if there's an emergency, I actually have all the tools at my disposal to help someone. It's not just somebody that's just for, you know, emergency professionals.
And just to kind of add on what Younus is saying, when you think about safety and security, you also look at the physical infrastructure as well. So there are many simple devices that can secure any form of door. And when we implement this program in its full stages, one of the first things we do is we do a risk assessment to ensure where does your property or your organization stand with the standards that are in the industry right now. So we look at 3 different stages, and each stage builds on one another. When this program is fully implemented in a very cost-effective way, an organization goes from having no security to having a safety system that is self-sufficient, that does not involve hundreds and thousands of dollars. And we're very lucky in Canada that the Canadian government, through the SIP program, is providing government funding for training and physical infrastructure security. If any organization is interested in learning more, they can contact us and be more than happy to guide them in the right direction.
That's great. Now, let's say, maybe I'll address this to Younus. What about if someone suspicious comes to the mosque? What do you do in that circumstance? Let's say you're praying in the mosque, someone suspicious comes in. Maybe they have a weapon, maybe they don't. What's your response?
So I'm going to use a couple of examples from our recent history. In the Quebec City Mosque, what happened was that the individual who came and killed all those people, he actually, we have police reports that he actually came into the mosque twice beforehand and got involved in a very, not physical, but like a very argumentative confrontation with one of the staff members. And what happened was that staff member was present for both times and like sort of answered his questions, but despite all the hatred that was being spewed, he didn't raise the issue to police. Right? The main thing that we suggest is that, first of all, understand the principles of like conflict de-escalation, right? Understand that, arguing back at somebody is probably not going to make the situation better. And then second of all, reporting it to the right people. So the first thing you want to involve is your own management, right? Another thing you want to involve is obviously the police. And there are groups like the National Council of Canadian Muslims who actively track hate crime. And it's their full-time job to actually deal with these situations on a legal basis.
And just to kind of expand on what Younus is saying, it's all about getting the baseline training and the knowledge. To answer your question, what does a suspicious person look like? To everybody, if they use their own judgment, they're going to come up with a different answer. So what the Salon Project does is gives you a checklist that has been proven in the private and public industry to help people understand and answer those questions. Small things and very simple measures like having a welcoming committee, having a dedicated group of volunteers who are assigned to communicate with anybody, any new face that comes to the mosque or a place of worship, because our program is not only for mosques, but it is open to anyone. And we have learned from our friends from other places of worship, having a visitor policy, having a sign-in policy. These type of measures are part of our program, and they can enhance the safety of an organization by a great amount.
What about if someone comes in with, let's say, a gun or something? Do you provide training on what they should do in that circumstance?
Yeah, you have to kind of look at the cumulative, that's a very, very complicated question because there's going to be 2 different responses. What can an organization do in a proactive manner to make your organization least susceptible to that kind of a threat? And what can you do in a reactive manner? So of course, we, as the Salam Project, we partner with your local policing agency. And together we come up with a program and training protocols that are consistent with law enforcement standards and to ensure that both reactive and proactive measures are addressed in a reasonable manner.
Because sometimes you can be very proactive and think about how you would address a circumstance, but then when you're in the moment, it's completely different the way you react, right?
Yes.
So I think, you know what, I'll actually just give part of our presentation right now. So we have generally 2 things that we talk about. One is the security team has a very specific protocol for lockdown and evacuation, right? They have, they have notification procedures. Like if somebody on the outside realizes that something like that's happening, right? They obviously radio in to people on the inside, and then the people on the inside lock down the building, and then get everyone to evacuate out of the other side, right? The other thing is, obviously, a lot of police agencies have been espousing the run, hide, defend methodology. So basically, what are your options during an emergency? Do you run away from the threat? Do you know where the exits are? And where can you hide? Are you ready to barricade? And if all of those measures fail, use your judgment, and you may have to fight back and, gather people together and your, different improvised tools, right, to fight back, because that might be the thing preventing you from death or protecting other people.
And the most important thing about our project and that we want to instill in places of worship and the worshipers is that our mind operates under principles of autopilot. Mm-hmm. The more you practice, the more you learn, the better equipped you are in dealing with that emergency. And that is a big part of our program, is to teach everyone the tools, not only the tools that can be used when you come to a place of worship, but tools that can be used in your daily lives, whether you're going to school, whether you're using public transit. Being more alert and being more aware of your surroundings is also a big component of our program.
Waseem, I want to ask you, because some people might say, look, if we had better protections for hate crimes, we wouldn't need any of these programs. We wouldn't need to be alert and careful. How would you respond to that claim?
We are very, very fortunate in Canada that we have amazing legislation in place to protect individual liberties. And this is through the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. And we have many remedies and many legal remedies to be able to handle that discourse. But what our organization has found that many people are not forthcoming with reporting such incidents of hate. And what happens then is the law enforcement community and government as a whole do not have the true picture of how damaging the actual cases and the number of incidents are. So the minute we report, we give law enforcement professionals, we give the Canadian government, and we give all of the stakeholders a true picture of what's going on. And it's only then more resources, more connections can be made between key figures to impact the situation in a positive direction. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Now, Younus, I understand that both of you and others who are with you are doing this all on a voluntary basis. How can people get involved with Salam Project?
So our goal is essentially we go to every single mosque and we train those people. We help create a security committee or council, right? And that group of volunteers within that mosque is responsible for their safety. So the most important thing is essentially taking our training and trying to implement it and then staying in contact with us. So our recommendations are that you set up a group, and then one of us will sit on that, and then we'll provide advice and guidance based on that. In terms of getting involved, you can submit your resumes to Waseem, right? And, we are in the process of trying to onboard more people because we do need the manpower. Mm-hmm. Everything's pro bono.
And another thing that I want everybody to remember is that do not underestimate your own value. And you don't have to have a certain set of expertise. You don't have to have a certain set of skills. We will ensure that your skills and your abilities are utilized in the project. We have subject matter experts on our team. Having more brothers, having more sisters, having more stakeholders involved from various backgrounds is another way that you could really join the project. You can go to salamproject.ca and you can connect with our team members and you can learn more about our project.
Waseem, Younus, thank you for joining us. You guys are doing really important work, so I support you and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much.
Wondering what's this funny thing on my head? Got questions you're too embarrassed to ask? Have no fear. On Let the Quran Speak, you can explore Islamic beliefs and practices and learn about Canadian Muslims, all from the comfort of your home.